Robert Black.
Good morning, Chair Huffman, Vice Chair Hinojosa, and committee members. My name is Robert Black, and I have the privilege to serve as Governor Abbott's Chief of Staff. Thank you for allowing me and the Governor's staff the opportunity to visit with you this morning on our little piece of SB 1. Since this will, I hope, be the only time I have to testify before this esteemed committee, this session, I want to take the opportunity to thank you and the members of the Senate and of this committee for your willingness to partner with the Governor's office to serve the needs of Texans and our great state. For this session and beyond, I hope you will continue to see the Governor's staff as a resource in service of your constituents. Madam Chairman and members, our state continues to be the economic powerhouse of the nation. We lead the nation in job creation, adding more jobs than any other state in 2024. Additionally, we've set new record highs for the number of Texans working and the size of the Texas labor force. We have been the best place to do business in the United States for 20 straight years, and for the 18th year in a row, Texas is the top state for population growth, adding more than 1,500 people a day. With that incredible growth comes both challenges and opportunities, and I think you will see both reflected in our budget. From border security to economic development, from film and music incentives to a disaster fund to public safety grants, the Governor's budget reflects the goals of both growing our economy and keeping our people safe. I do not envy you your task of crafting a budget this size, but I do thank you for your efforts and your thoughtful consideration of our part of it. Now, I have with me Toby Baker, one of our Deputy Chiefs of Staff, to give an overview of the budget and the Office of the Governor and the Trustee programs, as well as a number of experts from our office for different parts of the budget if any member wants to go deep diving on anything. But Madam Chairman, before I turn over the mic to Toby, I would like to address one of the larger items in the budget and one of the larger issues that I know has been talked about on other panels in front of you the last few days, and that is border security funding. First, I'd like to thank the House and the Senate, Lieutenant Governor's office, the Speaker's office for funding Operation Lone Star and border security efforts over the last few years. I think they've been extremely successful. And I want the committee to know that Governor Abbott has formally asked Congress for that $11 billion that you have appropriated and the Texas taxpayers have paid for. He's asked for it back in a formal request. Just this week, Governor talked to every majority member of the congressional delegation and both U.S. senators about this issue, and he has had numerous conversations with the administration. Next month, the governor will travel to Washington, D.C. to personally talk to leadership in the House and the Senate. He's already spoke to the U.S. Speaker once and the administration about getting that $11 billion back. I can report that all of those conversations have been very positive. I would probably have better luck predicting the weather next month than predicting what Congress is actually going to do. But I can assure you that the governor is putting forth every effort possible to get those funds back to Texas. Regarding the border security efforts going forward, I don't have any clear-cut answers or timelines for you today. We are less than 3 weeks into a new administration in Washington, D.C., and I think if you just turn on your TV or social media channels, you can see there's a lot of activity by the administration regarding security in this country. Texas remains an active participant and partner in those ongoing security efforts. And while it is the governor's intent right now to maintain and continue our current border security posture, while we continue working with the administration in partnership as they ramp up their border security efforts. We are at the very beginning of the process, and I do not have a timeline for you on when or how that is going to happen. We believe we will have more information in the coming weeks and months, but I will commit to you today that our office will keep you informed of when and how that is going to happen as we move forward. Now, I'm happy to answer any questions along those lines, or I'll turn the mic over to Toby.
All right, I'm sure you'll have some questions. I want to ask you one before, just because I think this is one of I call it the low-hanging fruit, where we could save $200 million a month, and that is with the National Guard or combination of the Texas Military Department at the border. It's under General Seltzer. Mm-hmm. Currently, they're there under the orders of Governor Abbott, mm-hmm. and therefore we're paying for it. Just a simple change of who's ordering them down there. If we could get the feds to order them down there, then the feds would start paying for it. To me, that would not change what we're doing. I mean, we could have more help from the feds, but that would be one way to save us $200 million a month. I know we have a huge budget. I know we're in the over billions and billions of dollars, but $200 million is a lot a month, no matter how you look at it, right? So, is there any hope of even starting with that? What do you think?
There's always hope.
There's always hope. It really would just take a change of
It would.
ordering
So
what?
I know that there are discussions happening on going on. We've been involved in some of those on, and I'm going to get there are federal designations for National Guard troops and calling up regular U.S. Army troops on which one and how. The Secretary of Defense was just confirmed. There is a hot rumor I heard this morning that he may be coming to Texas as early as next week.
Okay.
To visit with General Seltzer. Mm-hmm. So I think the plans will come together soon. I just don't have them today.
Right, and I'm not trying to pressure. I'm just trying to give that as a suggestion of a starting place. And I've received some complaint that just through the wayside of like some of the soldiers who they don't get credit towards their pension, and the federal soldiers towards their time when they're here under state order. So even that could solve a few little problems of some of the the soldiers who are down there. So just little things like that point out to you. But anyway.
Yes, ma'am, and I will add some context. The governor would love for us to be back down to the levels we were in under President Bush and President Obama and even President Trump the first time.
Yeah.
The $400 to $800 million range. We would love to be back there again.
Right. And I do understand some of the effort that we put, like whether it's through the state arrest, the border prosecution unit, all those things are really good state support, I think, to help the feds in their mission. And we want to invest in their mission, and I think we definitely have a role in that. It's when General Seltzer was here, I guess that was a couple of days ago, we were talking about the idea, DPS is rounding up, certain illegals who cross and have committed state offenses, whether it's trespassing. That's, again, low-hanging fruit for ICE to just come in and pick those up. They've come in illegally. They've committed a crime. They're fit, I think, within the definition of what President Trump had hoped would be some of the first to be removed. So, again, I think we can be really good partners with the federal government on this. We're committed to do it. We've been doing it a long time, as you said. If we get, you would sound more optimistic than me about us getting that $11 million back. But again, moving forward, I think that we need to be prudent on how we do it. So that's my only thoughts. And thank you for all you do. Y'all tell the governor he's doing a great job. I always say, you can tell how many questions there are, and really the only person who has their light on is Senator Hinojosa. So. Maybe they'll light up in a minute. But anyway, Senator Hinojosa.
Just a quick follow-up on the thoughts. I think border security is very important, and I support it. But now it's a federal responsibility. So hopefully now the President Trump administration will take up more of that responsibility and more of the cost and relieve some of the burden from our taxpayers here in Texas. As for the base camp, as you well know, we're constructing a base camp in Del Rio area, and that is costing quite a bit of money, and it'll take a large amount of money to sustain it on a regular basis. So that would be also a good idea to see if the federal government can pick that up, since they seem to be very much focused on trying to secure a border and help Texas do its job.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was really just going to reiterate the comment that you made regarding just simply changing the order of who is giving, changing who's got the order to put the National Guard at the border. And it does save, and that seems like something that the current presidential administration would do in a heartbeat. And maybe it doesn't have to go that far to the top. Maybe the new Secretary of Homeland Security could give us that, because the chairman made a great point with that saves so much per month, and that it doesn't change anything in the operations or the dynamics of it. Mm-hmm. And it helps them, as she said, their pension gets, they get to add to their pension while they're working. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Alvarado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back to the question about the reimbursement, and thank you all for giving us the letter that the governor sent. If we do get that money back, will your office revise requests for the Operation Lone Star funding for the upcoming biennium?
I will commit to you this. First of all, I don't even know how the mechanics of that would work. But if we get to the point where we're discussing mechanics with Washington, D.C., then that means the decision's been made to do it, which is a really good thing. Mm-hmm. And I will commit to you that not only will we relook at that, but we will include Senator Huffman, Chairman Bonin, Chairman Bonin, the Speaker, Lieutenant Governor, and our office, and the Comptroller on how those mechanics would actually work when that money comes back. But yeah, if they say something like that in the next few months, sure, we'll relook at whatever we need to.
Okay.
Be great.
Great. Moving to the trusted programs, one of my favorites is the Music Incubator Program, and I want to thank Senator Campbell because she helped me get that across the finish line, and this committee and Chairman Huffman as well. So it's been a real success, and y'all have done a great job of putting it out there and letting people know when to apply. I see that it's in the base budget again for, I think, $20.2 million. During the first round of applications, they pretty much went through that money. Do you feel that what's in the base budget is sufficient for the next round of applications?
Senator Toby Baker, good to see you in this new role.
Right.
Not talking to you about environmental stuff. Right now, I think that is sufficient for what we need, but happy to have a conversation with you if you're hearing something different in your office, and if we need to adjust that number, we're happy to do that.
Okay. It's been a real success, and I think part of it is the public awareness of it that y'all have done. So thank you.
And, okay, that's all the questions, but Toby, I know you wanted to make a presentation on the exceptional items, so anything you want to highlight, you can.
Sure. I'll try to go quickly through it, so I'm going to reduce this quite a bit. I think I will say that Robert and I both worked for Governor Perry, and now we work for Governor Abbott, and we are living proof if you work long enough and hard enough, you end up right back where you started.
Yeah.
So with that being said, thank you so much for allowing me to come and address you today. Thank you to the members of the committee, Chair, Vice Chair, Lieutenant Governor, Mike back there. I see him hiding. Thank you so much. So I'm gonna skip all of the stats and get straight to our exceptional items. I'll skip the border exceptional item because you did include that in the base, and go to and victim assistance is also included. So I will skip that and go to the Semiconductor Innovation Consortium. I want to highlight this because it is a significant amount. $698 million for the CHIPS Fund. Obviously, it's for to bring the semiconductor manufacturing world to Texas. It's been highly successful to date. We have 66 applications, and we are well oversubscribed. It's in the billions of dollars of projects that have been requested. We've funded 12 at this point for about $125.4 million. We expect that we will expend all those dollars by the end of the fiscal year. So I would highlight that one for your consideration because I think it has been highly successful. And as we move to make Texas more self-reliant, I think this helps with that goal. Moving on to Defense Economic Adjustment Assistance grants, we've not asked for an increase in this. It's been $30 million for as long as I can remember. We're asking for a $20 million increase. You included the $30 million in our base. The $20 million represents the demand that we see out there. So what we see on a regular basis is these communities well exceed the money that we have available. And so we haven't been through a BRAC round or base realignment and closure round in many years. But to remind you, the federal government has the opportunity to go around and look at military bases across the United States and then decide whether to close them. Obviously, losing a military base in some of our smaller rural areas like Wichita Falls or Abilene or San Angelo would be catastrophic to the community. So for us, this small increase will go a long way in showing the federal government that we are invested in the defense community here, and we find that it's very helpful for a lot of the bases to do some things that they wouldn't be able to do had we not engaged. Moving on to the Governor's University Research Initiative. We have not asked for, when this was originally funded, we asked for $40 million. You funded that. We have now gotten through that. So we have not come back to you and asked for more money for this program for many years. What this is focused on is bringing what we consider to be the best researchers in the world, United States, to universities in the state of Texas. So a number of universities have taken advantage of this. And I would say it's building a research base here that we did not have before this program. It's an investment that is that goes to the heart of, I think, higher ed and what we should be doing outside of teaching our kids. And we would respectfully ask that you consider this program as we move forward. The next one is the Texas Moving Image Industry Incentive Program. We put this in here for discussion. Last legislative session, you gave us just over $200 million all in on this. This represents the additional amount that you added to the program during the last biennium. And so we put the same amount, I think, to start the discussion. From what I hear, the Senate might be interested in doing a little bit more than this, and we'd love to see what that bill looks like once it's drafted. And if you have, if you need our input, we are happy to provide that. And then we had a late addition to the exceptional item list. It was not on our original list. It's $5 million from the General Revenue Fund for grants to combat acts of violence of terrorism against nonprofit groups. We have funded about $2 million towards this in the past, so this is a little more than doubling it. This comes out of October 7th, and some of the threats that we saw against synagogues across the state of Texas. But it's not only for synagogues, it's for churches, it's for nonprofits of all types that may be under threat from terrorist actions. So we decided to add this, but it was a late addition. We're happy to come tell you more about it if you have any questions. We also have some rider changes that we could, Madam Chair, we could probably come talk to you offline. We don't know if we need to spend time on it here.
Yeah, you can just.
And a couple other things that we would highlight, but that high level, that is what we're asking for.
All right, thank you. Senator Hinojosa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to focus on one of your special item requests. That is the Defense Economic Adjustment Assistance Grant Program, DEAG. And you stated that we have had an amount appropriated of $30 million every session. And quite frankly, that's a huge benefit to our military bases here in Texas. As I understand, you're asking for $20 million more. And as you well know, the federal government is looking at ways to close some military bases. So it makes a big difference whether or not that military base is closed or kept open based on the infrastructure and support that the military base receives not only from the local community, but also from the state of Texas. And as I understand, the DEAG program has a 227% return on investment, which really demonstrates that those investments are paying off as it relates not only to keeping our military strong, but also making sure, as you said, that some of our rural communities, and some not so rural, as in Corpus Christi, we have a naval air base and a helicopter assistant or helicopter repair facility. So for us, I would certainly urge members to look at ways to increasing and complying with your request on adding additional funding to the DEAC fund, because I think it's a very important fund for our military bases here in Texas.
Senator, we agree with you wholeheartedly. The numbers that we have would show that the investment here is well worth it. I think right here, looking at one of my notes, is we've calculated that military installations have over $150 billion impact on the state economy and support over 200,000 employees. And you're right, communities like Corpus do benefit from this. In fact, they have received a DEAG grant in the past having to do with reducing their water usage. As we know, in a drought-stricken area like that, that's incredibly important. So we agree with you, and and are happy to work with you through the session to make this come to fruition.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Senator Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, along the same lines with Senator Hinojosa, I'm just pretty much supporting what he says. The TMPC, that commission, that fund helps to close up gaps or vulnerabilities for BRAC, the base realignment and closure activity that the federal government takes on. And as you just said, the military, both direct and indirect, I think it's our second largest industry or contributor to our economy. And so that fund helps us protect those bases from closure. So it's just very important. So I was just more reiterating, he beat me to the button, but reiterating what you said, that's just real important. It's not a giveaway without truly, it's not a giveaway. It truly has important intent behind it. Thank you, Toby.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Senator,
Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, Senator Betancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Toby, let's go over this exceptional item on the semiconductor
Yes, sir.
innovation consortium. Do you have a list of the 12 applications that have been approved and what type of upside?
I don't have the list of the 12 that have been approved, but Adriana Cruz with our economic development team may have that list. So if you don't mind, may I look over my shoulder and see if she
You,
does?
Toby, right, you can look over left or right shoulder. It's up to you.
So I do have the list here in front of me.
And do you have like just an amalgamated total of employment or which specific, how many fabs or lines we're looking at here? And if not, you can also just share that with us because you may not have time to.
Let me, I'm trying to process an Excel spreadsheet quickly. So let me, if you don't mind, let me digest that and I will get you something that's simpler.
Right, I just think it's important to know what our success ratio is before we quintuple the fund. And just in you and Robert, since you're effectively, well, let's see, I was going to use the term retreads, but we'll just say reruns, okay? I hope that you'll eventually get some benefit out of seeing yourself on the Heroes and Icon channel, 20 years from now. I guess so.
Senator Betancourt, since you're on that subject, my understanding is the money that's put out is mainly for the federal match. So the feds match the money. I don't remember what the ratio is, but am I correct on the way that this program works?
Do you mind if I bring Adriana up?
Of course not. No.
Okay.
I'm just following up because I think it's important. It sounds like we're just giving them this money, but it doesn't.
No,
doesn't
that
work.
wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
I know there's a federal match.
Yeah,
and
but I just think
major
it's
federal
important for the public to hear that a little bit about it since they.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. My name is Adriana Cruz, and I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Economic Development and Tourism Office and the Office of the Governor. And the projects that have been approved through the LBB total about 948 jobs and about $17 billion in capital investment. Now, only one has been announced so far, but the others are in contracting, and we hope to have some more announcements coming soon. But they vary from semiconductor fabs, semiconductor suppliers, semiconductor design companies, and then we do have some higher education grants that will be coming as well for some of our higher education institutions and their research programs. And yes, sir.
No, so this is 389. Is that was the number of jobs so far, or was it
948.
948? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. And that's spread out, as you said, over fabs, fab designs, et cetera, secondary and tertiary
Suppliers. Yes, sir.
Now, is that list public yet, or is it? Do you have to wait to?
It is not, because we're finalizing contracts, and we do not make announcements until contracts have been finished. And so once those have been made, and we will in time put this list up so that folks are aware who has been receiving grants.
What's the one that has been announced?
Intella Epi.
Okay.
That is in Allen in DFW area, and that is the LBB approved a grant of $4,120,000. And that was for 30 jobs.
And that's an important process, if I remember correctly, that EPI process.
Correct.
No, I did some work in fabs with automation long ago. So it'd be good to have those whenever those could be released to talk about this. Because, Madam Chair, that $1 $4 million expenditure for 30 jobs, one of the fundamental limitations is effectively lined with and what they're working with on these on chip design and wafers, et cetera. So these can be, if it's an EPI process, it's where that actually gets done in the fab construction. So that's an important step.
Correct. Thank you. And Madam Chair, to your question, some of these projects are pursuing federal grants. For some of them, federal grants have been given, and for some, they did not receive a federal grant. And so I think it's not necessarily a requirement of the program, but we certainly want to leverage as much as possible some of these federal opportunities. And we did not limit ourselves solely to the CHIPS and Science Act. So these federal grants could be Department of Energy, Department of Defense, NIST, any number of federal grant opportunities.
And of course, part of the incentive, the reason for all this is we want to keep these industries in Texas. We want to encourage them to come to Texas. And very importantly, we want to keep them in the United States and keep them from going to foreign countries, right?
Absolutely.
Part of what this was all about.
That is what it's about, is the reshoring and also building up that supply chain. And also national security. All of these products have national security implications.
Thank you.
40 years ago.
Senator Betancourt?
Right. I would assume Intel has federal money on this, though, or on that project or not?
I believe Intel did receive their federal funds, as well as some of the other companies that have selected Texas.
But it's not
announced.
exclusive, is what you're
Correct.
saying, right?
Yes, sir.
So, are any of these other announcements expected anytime soon?
I believe we're working on 2 press releases that we hope to come out this coming month.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Perry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just go back to the DEAG money. First of all, thanks for being proactive. Those are big employers in the area and serve very strategic, vital purposes. As a senator of the second largest rural district in the state, for 10 years, the largest, I have 3 of those bases. I also remind members I have 4 public university systems. So think about that. You got 1 or 2, you think you got a handful. I have 4 to deal with. But Abilene, Wichita Falls, and San Angelo, you mentioned, are 3 big strategic bases. But what I forget is $1 million here or there from a Texas to keep programs protected is a lot of money compared to other states. So a little bit goes a long ways to your point that we're making, but it's important to my district, but to the state and to the nation. But I do have the luxury of having 3 that could be coming under target one day. So, the odds are not good for me as a senator representing that sometimes. So it's good.
All right, Senator Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just a few things. It's been good to see you, Toby. So I just wanted to recognize that, appreciate the support and being in the bill pattern for our border security, but especially of interest to me is the Border Prosecution Unit and the great work they did. Those district attorneys volunteer their time and have done a great job under tremendous stress. So, but we're still ongoing until there's a transition for the federals to take over. That's why it's important for us to maintain what we're doing, at least until the federals can do their job. But I just want to recognize, appreciate the request to support the Border Prosecution Unit. Secondly, I just want a quick recognition of the Appointments Office under Peggy Venable, who's done a great job working with all of us to make sure that our qualified constituents represent our districts and our boards and commissions, and working with the governor to do that. Something very important. I think it's overlooked sometimes that that having our own people in roles of governance, especially very well qualified, is very important to all of us. And I want to just a quick shout out. They did a great job. So that lastly, but not least important, has to do with VOCA and filling I see you have a large exceptional item in here for them, and in dealing with public safety. That comes from the Victims of Crimes Act. It's a federal law, but that provides funding to pass through you, the governor's office. But in the last few sessions, the gap from the funding from the federal government, especially under the last administration, was backfilled with ARPA. And then, of course, without ARPA, we filled with general revenue in the last session. But as it is right now, we're still looking to maintain those services, which I think, we spend a lot of time in criminal justice and public safety about going after offenders, but equally we need to make sure and always recognize that to take care of the victims. And I thank my colleagues for that support of taking care of the victims and not forgetting them. And so, as I understand it, this request is to basically maintain VOCA throughout the state and all of our communities to help our victims. That's your request, is to maintain it at the current level. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. That's why I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And thank you all very much for what you do, and look forward to working for you in the session.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Flores. Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know since Adriana's up there, I wanted to make sure that we let y'all know how much we greatly appreciate the efforts by the governor's office related to economic development. I know my 18 counties, it doesn't matter when or where the conversation about economic development comes up in those 18 counties. Whenever it comes up, she's there. And so y'all are greatly appreciated for the efforts that you make. I know it's very difficult for you to get out all over the state, but it's much appreciated, much noticed, and I want to make sure I recognize you for that.
Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Kolkhorst.
Thank you, Toby. Good to see all of y'all again. Thank you, and I loved your statement about you stick around long enough, you end up back where you started, right? Back to your roots, right? So good to see you, Robert, in your position. Governor's University Research Initiative. I want to make sure y'all are, when you said you hadn't expended it, I want to make sure, is that for the biennium, or traditionally it's just been a carryover? How does that work?
That's right. It's been a carryover, so we haven't, when it was first launched, we've really just spent down that balance. And so where we are, so we've never had to come back and ask for additional funding, because we have the ability through our riders to move
UB authority
forward. That's right. And so we're at a point now where we will have spent everything that you gave us. And so that's why the request is to essentially refill that so we can start that process again.
I'm looking at page 4. It looks like we started this in fiscal year 2016. If I'm reading that correctly, it looks like Texas A&M College Station's been the big winner with 21 awards.
It's yes, ma'am, that's correct. At the beginning of this program, I think Texas A&M in particular saw it and jumped on it quickly. I will say what we're seeing is that's starting to, other universities have, I think, have noticed and have started to engage more here recently. But at the beginning, Texas A&M was really the university that was taking advantage of it. It was not specific to them. It was just they really went after it at the very beginning.
I don't remember the enabling legislation. I'm sorry, I could pull it up probably here on my iPad, but does it only go to public universities, or can privates also apply?
I will have to verify that, but I believe it's only public universities.
Okay. And which is interesting. I would say that maybe some of our privates are doing really good research as well, and we maybe should potentially open that up to them as well. You look at Rice University, world-class university research, R1, and they're doing some really good things there. My question, Madam Chair, is as we looked at CPRIT yesterday, and as I said, when I drilled down into some of that last night, and I mean, they use it a lot for university recruitment and bringing those research teams in. We have this. We'll have, I'm certain, exceptional items in Article 3 from each university.
Always.
And it often gets to the point where I'm not sure we have a coordinated approach in making sure that we're not wasting taxpayer dollars, that all of this is moving in a direction, and I'm not saying we're duplicating efforts, but that we might be not as prudent with those dollars and how they go out, because y'all are doing it. We're doing special items. Every university comes and says, we've got the greatest thing. Very opaquely, CPRIT is pushing out a lot of money. And I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just saying I'm not sure, always have the roadmap. So that might be something that we look at and work with y'all on. But I remember when we passed this, and I think I would say to y'all and Toby being back in the office, y'all have been prudent. Good for Texas A&M College Station for chasing a bucket of money. I'd like to see potentially some of our smaller universities access this, and that would be at the behest of those systems pushing them. And potentially, again, we have some world-class universities that are private that really don't cost us a lot of money that we could augment in the research realm. So look forward to working with y'all, and welcome. Really excited about working with your team, Mr. Black, this session and beyond in the interim as well.
Thank you, Senator. And we would love to have some more conversations on this if you'd like for us to come by. You know, what sets it apart is that it's not like CPRIT in the sense that if I've got a list here, here's an ag researcher, energy research, oil and gas research, computer engineering research. So we're sort of, what GURI gives us is the ability to sort of go across different research areas and try to get those professors from around the world who are the best at what they do and bring them here.
And Madam Chair, if I could,
Sure.
I'd love that. You know, it is very different than CPRIT, who is cancer research, versus y'all, and just making sure. Senator Perry and I were having a really good conversation up here, whether it's Health and Human Services or what, you know, all the different buckets of money, and making sure that they go in the right way. And so as we look, I'll be filing very shortly a bill on making Texas healthier, making Texas healthy again, and looking at things that we can do on that. I'm super excited about the future, and whether we're doing research in engineering and aerospace, or looking about agriculture and how we produce products and what we're doing there. I think Texas can really be a leader on this, and we're going to have help from the university systems as well. We invest a lot of money in them on making Texas healthier and healthy again. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that's all the questions. You had brought up the film industry and so forth in your special item. I did want to say that Lieutenant Governor put out a low bill number on the bill. Again, I haven't filed it, but we'll file it soon, and it will start a franchise tax credit. Still overseen by the governor's office. There'll be about $450 million for that. It's a credit, though, and then
Right.
$50 million for what kind of continuing on what you're doing now, but it will be overseen. So we'll talk about it. I'm sure we'll have a lot to visit about.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you. All right, so that concludes all the questions we have for you. Thank you for your participation and being here today. And we will move on now to the Facilities Commission and Revenue Bonds for Lease Payments.
You and Perry will just restart that our heroes and I.
Boom. Okay, do we have George Purcell up here? And then we'll call up Mike Novak, Executive